guess with the first thing on the agenda for calling our meeting to order, we would want to pick whenever the next meeting is. And so if we're skipping every other Wednesday, it looks like it would be the 10th of April.
Sounds good.
Okay,
At 9:30, correct?
correct. All right, and then first thing on the agenda is 101 Pleasant Street.
Bill wanted to, or I think we wanted to wait for John Hallen for that. And I
Okay,
just sent him an email to find out if he's going to join.
so what is 101 Pleasant Street? Because I'm familiar with 1 Pleasant Street, which is,
Well, I just received a application from him.
Yep.
And it's, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him on because it doesn't really state on here what they're doing. He did give me an application, but the application doesn't state.
is it a 4-bedroom home? Remodel?
Yeah. Well, let's see. They're looking at putting in a new proposed sewer line. So according to the plan they sent with the application, that there's a building on the property that they want to put sewer into.
Is it to make another dwelling unit? Is that what they're trying to do?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Okay, remodel a garage or something?
I believe it was supposed to be a guest house.
Do you want me to put him in, or do you want to wait until John comes on?
Well, we can move it to the next, on the 10th if there's no information here to make that decision. I don't.
Right, well, just ask them what they're looking to do. That's the.
So there's already an existing dwelling that's on sewer, right?
Right.
Correct. It has 3 bedrooms for the original.
They're waiting in attendees.
Yeah, he's an attendee.
Okay. So put them up.
What's going on?
All right.
Hey, Bill. Bill McGowan present. We're talking, we just got started, Bill, and we're just going on to 101 Pleasant Street. We're just trying to understand what it is.
Me, except I was on the Zoom call with the Mediterranean like a minute ago.
Mike, there you go.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Can you explain to the commission what it is?
Sure. So we purchased the property at 101 Pleasant Street about 4 years ago. There's an existing building on the property. The previous homeowners used it for storage.
I can hear myself. I mean, I can hear.
Before that,
I don't know why it's not working.
Hey, Bill. Bill.
I've got the microphone in. I've got this here.
Bill, we can hear you.
Yeah. Carol, can you put Bill on mute?
Take them off, dude.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Meetings.
Yeah, for some reason we can still hear him.
Now he's
there?
Hold on, Mike.
Put him on mute.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm about ready to say something.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so to recap, so there's an existing building on the property. It's about 25.
Is there an existing residential home, right, that you own now?
Yeah, I have a residential home. It's been there since 1890. We bought the property 4 years ago. There's a garage and then a small building.
Why do they keep doing this?
Okay.
That is 18 feet by 25 feet. The previous homeowners used that as storage. Before that, neighbors and other folks have told us that that building was once inhabited as an apartment or some sort of like additional living space. We would like to finish the space and make it a guest house because we currently have a 3-bedroom home with 2 children and my wife. And then when my in-laws and others come visit, we want a space that they can stay in. That's the purpose of finishing this building into a guest house.
Have you submitted plans to planning board on what it would,
I've got a building permit from the building department already.
okay, is it, do the plans demonstrate like a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, a full bath?
It's kind of like an open studio with a bathroom type
Okay,
of space. It's not, it's a very small space. I said, our intention is to use it so when my in-laws come visit, they have a place to stay. We're not sleeping on air mattresses on the floor, and we just have some extra space for guests and my in-laws, etc.
okay.
Do you know if you have the sewer
Paul, John
connection
is on the call.
at an elevation that will be able to be gravity from your building?
We're putting a grinder pump in, and we're told that the grinder pump connecting to so our existing connection is on Pleasant Street. The building is a lot closer to Pleasant Lane, so it'd make economically a lot easier choice to connect to the sewer line on Pleasant Lane and not on Pleasant Street.
Mike,
So
is
you,
your,
yeah, so you would need to submit some plans to us so that Dan Coughlin can take a look at it. He's the subject matter expert for the sewer commission.
Okay.
Mike, is your house a single family home?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so originally, when this expansion was done, this was listed as a 2 EDU. So at some point in time, they were probably using that back parcel as a living dwelling.
Yeah, they were at one point. Yes, that was like a very long time ago.
So he already has 2 EDUs assigned to this lot. And he would be connecting to Pleasant Lane. That's probably the closest, and that's a 1.5 inch pressure line. But there's
Yes.
only 2 other connections on that line. So we should be able to tie in. We just need some plans from the person who's going to be installing the pump, licensed drain layer in the
Yep.
force main, to review those.
We're partnering with Rosano Davis, and they did their part in the application. I apologize that I'm not trying to GC this myself to save a few bucks, but Rosano Davis did fill in their portion of the application, so I can go back to them and ask them what they typically need to provide for the connection, correct? Dan?
Yeah, I haven't seen the application yet. I'm not sure if that was circulated. All I saw was a diagram of the house as it's going to be, I guess, renovated.
So what we would need is we have a change of use application where you're changing the use of the property to add this additional dwelling. And
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
No, Jesus.
Carol, put him on mute.
Just like,
And-
Oh, my God.
give him a call.
And so you file the change of use for us, and then we would need you to submit the plans so we can see the sewer hookup. Dan would inspect it or and review the plans. If the property already has the 2 EDUs, it looks like there's no additional EDUs, so there would be no fee assessed for that. We just want to make sure that we document that there's 2 dwellings on the property.
Okay. Instead, I'm not looking to divide the property or subdivide.
No, I said that, absolutely.
I'm gonna
I'm
use it
like,
just-
oh my God, this is like, I was just on the phone with the Mediterranean a minute
Hey,
about.
Carol, put him on mute.
Oh, I am?
Coming through right now.
All right, thank you.
So I just have to go to have an engineer.
Sorry,
draw-
guys, for being late.
Yeah.
I don't know what is happening here, to be honest with you.
Okay,
We
thanks,
can-
Bill.
We can hear you fine, Bill.
I just need to have an engineer
Oh,
draw a
geez.
set of plans
Yeah,
showing the
but-
existing structure with the sewer line coming out, the grinder pump, and then the connection onto Pleasant Lane, correct?
Yeah, actually, Rosano Davis is very well versed on what is needed for that, so they
Okay.
can probably draw up that sketch as part of the application. And all we need is a sketch showing it and then an
Okay.
as-built afterwards.
Perfect.
You don't
Okay.
necessarily have to hire an engineer to do it.
Thank you. That saves me a lot of money. I appreciate that, Dan.
Is there anything else
To
that
say
we
that
need
it's-
on the property?
So, okay. I think we should say that it's okay going forward. in
Yeah,
terms-
and it said, like, we're not looking to divide the lot, we're not looking to, I just want to be able to put my in-laws in a space that's not mine.
That's
When
not
they come.
Yeah, when you.
My wife's
when
not on
you-
the call, so we're
when you-
good.
When you come up with that miracle, let us know what it is.
It's buying the property of the guest house. Yes.
All right,
Michael, I will
so,
send you the change, I will send you the change of use application.
Thanks, Carol. I appreciate it. We'll fill it out
No
and we'll get
problem.
it back to you ASAP.
Okay, great. Yeah, just the plans that Dan asked for, and then we can document the change of use and we'll be on our way.
Thank you so much. Are you done with
Thank
me?
you,
for
Mike.
this?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Michael.
Mhm.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So Dan, we'll look to you to get an update on the 10th for this particular property to see if the application's in and you have received the plans and all that.
Yeah, should be pretty straightforward.
Can I call you back?
Okay. I wanted to get to John, because the next thing on our
Oh.
agenda is the capital expenditures with
Yeah,
finance. So I don't know, John, any updates, John? 1 Pleasant Street, 101 Pleasant Street, anything else?
No, just on 1 Pleasant Street, I think we submitted a plan as a proposed count, so I guess you guys have to figure that out, deduct what they had before and then come up with their fee. So I don't know if you
Okay.
had any questions on that, but that was the latest plan that we sent to Carol last week was
Is that it?
that's recent. Most of the walls, temporary walls are up now for that plan, so it's pretty accurate. Submitted from the architect.
Okay, so we should have Carol, we should have a change of use application from them somewhere. I don't know if they ever filed one or not. We just need to have these plans updated with that application. Dan, if we could get a written estimate of the EDUs and the calculations and how we calculated to Title V, so that we could present that to the applicant. We haven't seen them yet, John, at all, so I don't know, are they planning on coming in front of sewer?
I would think so, yes. I'll reach out to them
Okay.
after this conversation and at least have them fill out and start to put the change of use application in so that we can, they know they have to do it at some point, so.
Yeah,
there's
okay.
No occupancies till they get this done, so.
Yeah, I think the range was, north of 150, below 200. So that's the range. I think we were closer to 190 if we calculated it the way we did Title V.
Yep, so that, as I say, whatever,
The number is, it is, yeah.
the information is just a math problem, so they have to
Yep, that's right.
figure it out and pay up.
Okay. That's good.
All right.
That's- So that's all we need to do then. You're right. So Dan will take that, we'll take those plans and we'll just move forward with it. We'll do the calculations. We'll have a document that we could let them review and then go from there.
All right, and so again, I'll reach out to them and have them submit the change of use
Okay.
application and then get on the agenda so they could start the process.
Okay, and then just to follow up on 147.
I'm sorry,
Yes. Yes,
I'm
Carol?
sorry. Don, who do I send the change of use application to?
Actually, if you want to forward to me, I'll forward it on to, I don't have the applicant's email in front of me, the owner of the building.
Sure. No problem.
Okay, thanks, Carol. And I'll see you tomorrow and we'll catch up on it.
Sounds
So
great.
John, while you're on, I just wanted to get an update on 147 South Main. Carol, I know he was on. We gave him the fee and he filled out the application. So Carol, has that been paid? Is he moving forward with the John? Have you
I
received
have-
our?
I have not received the fee yet, no.
Yeah, and I made him aware too that the same thing as we do the final inspection, no occupancy of the building will be allowed to the fee is paid and we have Carol's acknowledgement of that. So
Okay. So it's still open.
yep, so
Yep.
hopefully it will be closed because he knows it's coming.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other. Any other open issues? Dan?
I have already reviewed that. I think I sent it out on the 13th of March.
Right, yeah, we gave him the fee amount, and so he knows, during that last, sewer meeting we had what was owed. So I thought he was gonna come down and pay it and move forward with getting the permit, but, he hasn't done that yet, so.
Yeah, I think he's probably waiting for his next dispersal from the bank to make that.
Okay.
move.
Okay,
But
yes. No problem at all. I just wanted to, make sure we're following through with some of those things. So, is there anything else? Anyone have any questions for John on any other projects while he's here? No?
That's good.
All right.
All
Thank you,
right.
John.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
So, now we will move on to the new finance director, I believe, Corey.
Hey, Corey.
How about now?
Corey?
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
okay. Hi, I'm not a finance director, I'm the town accountant.
Oh, you're the town accountant.
Correct.
Okay. I know Bill had a lot of questions and, Bill's unable to attend, due to technical difficulties. So, yeah, we were used to dealing with, Don Piat, and I know he's been replaced a couple of times, so we weren't sure who was on the finance side of it. What we were looking to do is get regular reports, monthly or, would be nice on certain accounts, and then, quarterly on the whole. We're trying to understand, we have several accounts on the revenue side, that we had asked to be set up, so that we could track separately from general, sewer revenue. And, that was the CJC property, in which we have a contract where the property, would be paying over 20 years. We would want those funds to go into that specific account. It could be a sub-account of a larger account. And also had the Cook Estates. We wanted that on a separate chart of account, as well, so that we could see the funding going in there from Cook and we could track that. And then those two. Yes, ma'am.
Corey did set those two accounts up for us.
They're already set up?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so we haven't seen any of those yet. We haven't seen any of those accounts, any of the balances, any of the tracking. We don't know if we budget, if we're at 50% of our budget or 90% of our budget. We haven't seen any of those yet either. So we're kind of looking to get a routine going with accounting and finance to make sure that we're on track. We don't want to come up with a surprise at the end of the year, and find out we have to raise rates because we have a deficit. One of the things we were looking for, Corey, is that we received a $100,000 deposit from CJC, and we've yet to see where that deposit went, into what account in the sewer commission did that go. We have no record of that I'm aware of. I'm sure you do, but we don't see it.
Okay, as far as I'm aware, every department does get a monthly report, so you should be getting monthly expenditure reports. Have you not been
Okay.
getting them?
So it's been a challenge for us as a commission to receive monthly reports. So maybe that's something that needs to be worked out with Carol, so she understands what she's getting and she could forward it to us.
Mhm. And it was just recently that I was made aware of these CJC accounts and Cook accounts. They have been created. I believe Carol has been using them to make a deposit. So I mean, if you're looking for like a revenue accounts, that can be generated to you as well. Carol, and you're in SoftWrite, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you should be able to, and if you need help running any reports, if it's, they're not looking just for an expenditure report on a monthly basis, if there's any other reports they're looking for, I can help you with SoftWrite and generating those reports to give to the board, the chairman here.
And Diane helps me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I got one particular report that was 1 million pages long because it had every ratepayer or that paid a rate. And then when I finally got down to, I don't know, page 23 or something like that, looking for the report right at the moment, it showed only a small amount of money coming in on the sewer connection fee, and then it also had a credit to Cook Estates, and I don't know, it was a small amount of money credit to Cook, and then you had the Hagee property at something like $65,000, which made no sense at all. Hagee is just a 2-bedroom home, so I don't know what is being mixed up. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, was this a SoftWrite report, or is this a report from who does the billing for you guys, I guess?
So it is a regular town report, as you mentioned. Let me go back to my mail from Carol, and see what I have. We were talking about, let's see here. So I have a FY, it's called Town of Cohasset 2024 revenue report from July 1st of 23 to June 30 of 24.
Yeah, that's
And
SoftWrite.
It's a lot of pages, but when I got down to scrolling through it at the moment, there's a lot of, all the sewer use charges are there. Usually there's a summary to this report, like a top level that we're used to seeing, and down to sewer connection fee, which is on page 30, and it's under your chart of account, which is a 60-4320-4320. A sewer hookup for Haggerty property, $64,717.50. That doesn't make sense to me. And then you have a credit of an overpayment from Cook at $30. So they owe us $700,000. I'm not sure how that's an overpayment.
I don't have that report, so I would be glad to look at it with you. I don't know what you're looking at or where that came, like who gave that to you, because it didn't come from me or my assistant. So I'm kind of out in left field with what you're referring to. So I have no problem getting on the same page with you and just trying to understand the report.
Okay.
Do you know who gave that to you?
Carol sent it to us.
Okay.
I don't know where Carol received it.
Okay. So I'm
looking-
kind of like blind right now, not knowing what you're.
Okay, yeah, yep. No problem.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. I think it'd probably be best to have a separate meeting with either you and Corey and Carol, or one of the commission members, just to kind of review the accounts.
Okay.
I think that you're gonna find out that there's changes every single month because, for instance, at the Stasco property with the apartments, they have the water meters. The water department makes the bills out for the water department and the sewer department. But are we getting those additional customers as, in a timely basis, and is it showing up in our finances? There should be something, how many customers do we have, how much we're getting from those customers, et cetera. So I don't know who checks that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, sewer use charges, but I'm sure, Wayne, to your point, they're grouped, but they're grouped by, do we have a record of people being added to the rolls of regular sewer usage? Of, Cook Estates and, also, CJC. And then at some point, we'll have One Pleasant Street has 14 units. How is that captured and how is that demonstrated on our financial report? Is what we'll try and understand. So those are the kind of the main concerns we have, Corey. Probably want to take a look at the capital side as well. So we've got issues surrounding the sewer treatment facility, and we're going to want to capture the expenses and also the install expenses versus the capital expense of the credits we're going to receive, if any. And so we want to make sure that we demonstrate that as well.
Okay.
Woodard and Curran is pretty good on I think relaying the detailed information. And I don't know if you get those invoices from them yourself or your department receives them. We just understand, we want a better understanding of what accounts those are going into so we can track it.
Okay, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
I
because
don't have like I just started in November, so I don't have
Okay.
like a good understanding of how of sewer. I know you guys are an enterprise fund, you're self-sustaining, you have your charges, this is how you guys operate, and then you have your expenses against those charges. And you guys use Woodard and Curran as well. Like I know water uses them as like an administrative, for all like their charges.
Okay.
Like we get all of like the bills through like Brenda, like she comes in and that's how the bills get paid out. So that's good to know that sewer uses Woodard and Curran as well.
Okay. All right, so we'll try and figure out what the correct reports are that we should be receiving. And then once we get those, then we can kind of drill down on the different accounts that we have our most concern with.
Mhm.
And like I said, we know where the $100,000 deposit went on CJC, and I wanted to see the two accounts that will be revenue accounts, one specific to CJC and one specific to Cook, where they're going to pay us over 20 years, and that those funds go in there. Cook is kind of unique because the way that the contract was structured with Cook is they're paying us, each CJC and Cook pay us quarterly. But the caveat with Cook is that if a homeowner sells the property, then that homeowner would pay off that debt to the Cook Estates, and it would transfer directly to us. So their balance would come down, over time as each property is changes hands. So we want to be able to track that as well. So it's not a straight, like you would see a straight term loan where it's a certain percentage over a period of time and the monthly payment is the same. With Cook, it's a little different.
Mhm.
We have to
I
straighten
can
out the Haggerty property as well.
I can send you those accounts, or at least the account numbers.
Okay. I'll find the reports that I got from Don Piot and I can share what those look like and see if that's something that the town still produces.
I guess so from my understanding, like trying to just understand this Cook Estate and the CJC, what I did was I just created, one revenue account for CJC, one revenue for Cook. As
Okay.
far as like we were saying that detail of where there's that little caveat of like homeowners selling, that to me, and this is just my first initial thought, is that needs to be kind of some type of tracking separate outside of our, software, like, a spreadsheet of knowing like, okay, because I don't really see, just from my understanding of software, like how I would track each individual homeowner and their payment, like my first understanding was these two accounts paying us over 20 years quarterly. Okay, so I'll just set up one revenue account for Cook, and every quarter we'll just deposit and post to that revenue account. Any type of like underlying, behind the scenes tracking I would think needs to be done in a separate spreadsheet to understand like that detail level that you were just describing. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
we can set that up.
Yeah.
So Paul and Wayne and I don't know if Bill's listening, but I just sent you what Diane sent Carol like each month. So it's all of your budget lines.
Okay,
But obviously it doesn't dial down to the property level and what the revenues are coming in. If you have specific revenue, questions
Okay.
on that, it'd be a different report. But basically what you just got is the monthly report, and it shows you kind of percentages of expenditure on your total budget.
right. That's what I'm used to seeing, because I've been on the board of Elder Affairs, as you know, for like 12 or 13 years. So, we get them every month. It gives us the percentage of where we are against the budget. So I'd like to see where we are.
Yeah, I think just Carol, I think, in the future, just when you get this from Diane, just forward it on to the commission. And then if
I
there are
will.
specific questions, we'll go from there.
Yeah, there's other expense accounts that we like to track. We pay things out through the course of the year. We like to know, how much money is left in different accounts that we had a budget for. So we'll take a look at that and kind of address it in April, I guess, once Bill's able to attend. So Corey, the one big question is, any way you can find out that $100,000 check that was given to us a year and a half ago, do you know where that went? Is that in the CJC account now?
Okay. Oh, so that 100,000 was a year and a half ago that it came in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, when we
Um,
started this mess, yeah. And then unless the balance in that account right now shows
I guess,
it deposited in there, I don't know.
I can try to
Yes.
find the original treasury request sheet, and I can probably give you a date.
mhm.
So I can do that when I get back to the office tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I'm just trying to think like, a year and a half ago, so you're thinking like this was probably fiscal year 22 then, or?
Well, we went into somebody's account. I'm just curious as to where
Yeah.
it is. It could be in one of our sewer accounts. I just want to make sure that we and demonstrate that in the CJC account now, so if it went into a general revenue account, we just, credit and debit and
I'm just saying, like, I'm assuming it would have gone into your sewer account, so then, that would now, with you guys being separate from the town as an enterprise fund, that would have rolled up into your retained earnings at, the close of the fiscal year. It's just, when you're crossing over fiscal years, it just, there's that little bit of, closing the books, opening the books, so I'm hoping, that nobody put it into the general fund of the town.
yeah, so that's what we're trying to find out. We don't know where it went. We don't have any evidence that it went anywhere.
Mhm. Okay, and like, do you guys then, where you set this agreement up with Cook and CJC, like, do you guys have, that ultimate total price that they're supposed to be giving you guys? And then like, you're now like, you've gotten $100,000. So like, are you then like, okay, now we were told, I'm just making up numbers. We're gonna get, 20 million. Now we've received 100,000. Like, is that being tracked by somebody?
It is. Michelle Leary has it. We have a balance that's owed, a percentage of interest that's being charged over the 20-year period. And so there should be an amortization schedule for that whole thing.
we have the one for Cook, and I did send out the first invoice and did receive the first payment. But CJC, I'm still working with Michelle because they're stating that they're not due to pay an invoice until June. So she's working on something on her end.
Right, so the payment for CJC was supposed to be the first quarter after the sewer was conveyed to the town, and we're looking to find out how is that conveyed to the town? What does that document look like? So I don't know if Bill had talked to Michelle about that. He's supposed to turn it over after a year. He's supposed to have it bonded for the first year, and then it gets turned over to the town. So we were wondering what the conveyance document looks like. Because once we take ownership of it, we take ownership of it. So then that's when the billing was supposed to start.
I'll talk with Michelle when I get in tomorrow.
Okay. And I believe because there's three separate dwellings on the property, I thought they wanted the billing to be separated by 380, 390, and 400. That's how the contract is set up, I believe. But you'd have to find out from Michelle what the
Okay.
logistics are. Yeah. Yep. So, any other comments on capital and revenue?
So with the 3A property, are we billing the usage today? Or what's happening?
We
Yeah,
should be.
so I think the water bills are going out for, are you talking about CJC?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the water bills are including sewer usage as well.
Same with Cook.
Okay, because I was curious how that referenced from what, he had a private disposal system, so we didn't have bills for that. So this is all basically new revenue.
Yeah, plus Stop and Shop, right? I think they stopped using their system.
Right, I think they're paying by the usage now.
Yeah.
Are they? Yeah, I mean, I know Brenda's good, so I have a lot of confidence that she wants her money for the water and we want it for the sewer.
Yeah, we can probably, after about a quarter period of time, maybe we can find out from her what has been collected and kind of get an annual estimate of what we think would be collected.
Right. And is the 100,000 part of, or is it totally different from, remember he had to put a certain amount of money to beef up the pump station that was the end of Tupelo Road there.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it
There was
again.
some
Yeah.
costs that we said that we wanted him to take care of. Maybe Dan has some records and stuff too.
Yeah, with Dan put together a list of things that need to be completed. I forwarded off to the folks at CJC. They submitted stuff to Carol, and we just have to work with Carol to see what's left on the list.
Okay.
There was one item too, I think in the original agreement, you were billing CJC at the Hull rate. Just in case you had to divert flow, I think, over to the Hull with the inclusion of his flow. And I'm not sure if that was ever set up that way. More than likely, he's probably just getting billed the central route.
Yeah, it was our agreement originally.
Yeah, it's a 1.15%. I'll look at the language because I don't know if it was rate or if it was only applied if we have to divert to Hull. So we can take a look at the language of it. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is capital planning. Thank you very much, Corey.
You're welcome.
Rob, I know you're on. Any updates on any capital items that we've been talking about for the facility? And then Brian, I know you were working on getting the conclusion to this study, and we had talked about some changes that are going to be recommended for the facility, and specifically, you know, moving that the mobile trailer and doing something there. So I don't know if that's something we want to pick up in another meeting or two and kind of figure out what the cost of those things would be and where we want to budget them.
Yeah, so I mean, the main items I had today was, I can touch upon that grant that's underway right now. They're doing the design for that, you know, raising
Okay.
the electrical equipment, raising the transformer, which, you know, includes taking that trailer out of the way. That's one thing. Number two is, we're hoping today to have you guys discuss and take a vote on a new grant for asset management. An asset management system, and I think maybe Scott Salvucci from Woodard and Curran might be in the waiting room if he is. Carol.
I'll put him.
At any rate, that's a grant we were awarded. It has a match on it, so the total grant, this would be for an asset management system for the entire plant and all the equipment within, and it's $225,000 total with a grant of $135,000. So the commission would be, the match is $90,000. So that, if decide to go forward with that would need to go to town meeting for a vote for the entirety of the amount. It's a reimbursable grant. So that was one kind of agenda item that we'd emailed earlier in the week about.
So is this software related, or is there some physical things going on as well?
So I'll defer to Scott on the description of the actual scope. You want, Scott?
Yes, yeah, I'm on. Yeah, thank you, Brian. We also have Pete Lyons on the call, who would be the
Yep.
project manager for this. I'm in a client management position and helped with a lot of the upfront grant application writing and planning for this. And Brian really laid it out pretty well there, is that this is an asset management planning grant that's distributed through Mass DEP's Clean Water Trust and the intended use plan. So the intended use plan just finalized yesterday, and Cohasset is listed as, being receiving a grant. And as Brian mentioned, it's a $225,000 total project for a facilities plan at the wastewater treatment plant, of which $135,000, 60% would be a grant, and the town would pay the other 40%, which is $90,000 for paying $90,000 for a $225,000 project, which will get you the level of detail and planning for the facilities planning and future identification of improvements needed at the treatment plant.
Can any of the money be used if you find something that it's sort of like an emergency type thing? In other words, you find something that says, "Uh-oh, this is going to fail," and any day now.
It's a planning grant, so it's not used for execution of improvements. It's to identify what improvements there would be, and then you can go for future grants or low interest loans through the SRF program, State Revolving Fund program, to make those upgrades and make those improvements. But the scope of this is planning and to identify what improvements might be needed, what the current status of the different components and processes within the treatment plant are.
Okay. And is it for just the plant, or is it for some of the collection system?
This is focused, the scope written is for the plant, but it's the program itself would be able to focus on the collection system. So, if you consider this a phase, you could look at this as a first phase and looking at the treatment facility, and then you could apply again, and applications are due every August. The draft intended use plan gets listed in about December timeframe, so you find out if you're most likely going to get the grant or not, and then the finalized IUP, intended use plan, came out, like I said, yesterday. So you could apply in August again and focus on the collection system if that was, you know, a desire of the town. So, and
So
commission.
could you send me the scope of the grant, the language on it?
We can send that. Yep.
Okay.
Concerned that if you have the plant, you know, just the plant, but we have other like pump stations and things like that that are
Yeah.
vital to the system, but
Yeah.
So you're doing the plant, but you might not have the answers for those other things.
Right,
Oh.
and the grants are up to $250,000 total project cost. So they're not, you can't do everything at once necessarily. And the way, you know, we look at these grants is it is kind of systematic, where you can do it in phases, and you can look at the treatment plant, you can look at, like you said, the pump stations, the collection system, building your GIS system, computer management software for work orders, if you want to look at demoing different work order softwares, and then even using some of the grant to purchase and move forward with work order software. So, and building your GIS system. So it's not necessarily a one-stop grant. You could use it for many things, and it's good for wastewater, drinking water, and stormwater. Focuses on water and environment.
So I guess you know, $90,000 to find out, you know, how up to date our facility is what it sounds like. I don't understand until we read the scope, you know, what depth this $90,000 helps us out. You know, we have a facility that has 14 legs, you know, that go out to all these pumping stations, and it seems to me that we would need a comprehensive review of how the whole system is, not just the plant itself. But I guess if you're starting just where the plant is, that's one thing. But it doesn't help us to spend the $90,000 if we hope we get a grant a year from now to study the rest of it. What if we don't get the grant a year from now? Where does that leave us with what we've done with this? You know, do we have a half study that we can't move forward on? And then the other question I have is the grant that we're currently under, that I was mentioned to Brian about, you know, about moving and raising and doing all the other stuff to that plant. You know, how does this tie in with what that study is going to tell us? Are we, you know, does the right hand know what the left hand is doing with these two grants is the question I have. So it's really a Brian question, I think.
The amount of money really you're dealing with is $250,000. So it's, even though only 90 we're paying, but you know, the state or the federal government's paying the other amount.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is a sizable amount of money, like you said.
Yeah.
$250,000 to just study the existing plant is like ludicrous to me.
Our big concern, you know, is we've been in conversations with folks over the last couple of years about you know, capacity and about, you know, adding, say, North Situate, for example, or expanding and you know, down South Main Street and adding those residents. But if we don't know what our own facility can handle, what our 5-year or 10-year plan is on our facility, you know, we can't really move forward with adding more people and then having the answer be just send it to Hull, you know, because we don't know what their capacities are and what their plans are. You know, we just assume we can send to Hull no matter what. So I'm just wondering how much of this study on the plant itself helps us kind of discern that information collectively.
So just to answer your previous question there, Paul, the existing grant that's currently underway is a CZM grant for resiliency. And there are two parts of that. One of them is being worked on with Peter Lyons and Woodard and Curran, and they're working on the electrical, raising the electrical systems that are vulnerable in the 2030, 2050 projections. So that's underway. And then a second part of that is also the designing a cleaning and lining of the low-lying sewer pipes in and around that area. So that is underway. And I guess as it relates to the grant we're talking about right now, it's just, I guess, those components that would be upgraded in that effort are, I would probably be noted, but they're not specifically tied together, but you know, in that it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, I don't want to spend $90,000 of town money to have them tell us what that other grant just told us, right?
It's a different grant for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, you have an
right.
asset management system, and what's going on right now is design of raising electrical system.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
This would be to assess exactly like you're saying, like the processes, the equipment, how is it functioning? How is the wastewater treatment plant functioning now? And you get the evaluation of, okay, well, what would need to be upgraded? What could be upgraded? What's antiquated for processes and technologies? And then it starts to go back to the question that you posed of, well, what can the community and the treatment plant, with treat? What can you handle moving forward? It gives you a snapshot of the plant was built in, looks like, 1978. So it's been a while since it's really been assessed for what the processes are. And that's what this does. So this is a planning grant to make sure that you get a snapshot of where you're really at, and, a capital improvement program of what could you do to improve treatment processes, reduce operations and maintenance costs by upgrades to certain mechanics and equipment. So it's looking at something different than, like Brian was mentioning, the CZM grant for sure.
Okay. So Wayne, how do you feel?
I feel like as you go forward, you're going to see things that need emergency care. Oh my God, this thing here has been running, but it only has months or so to live. That I can't use some of that money to fix that and go forward. You know what I mean? It's $90,000, and the town has, in so many times, spends money, has the report, and then doesn't do anything about it. And I just on the field of sort of like you. What are we going to get for the $90,000? I don't want
that's
something that we're not going to use. But
well, you would hope to use it, right? And that's what the asset management plan is for, and that's what the program is about: is to be proactive on these pieces, so that you don't have emergency situations that come up and things fail beforehand. It's an asset management planning grant so that you can plan ahead. You can be proactive rather than reactive of something, failing, equipment failing, a process failing, and you can plan for it. You can budget for it. You can put it in your program and make those improvements. Now, I mean, I guess I see Rob's on the line. You would hope that that we have a sense of if there's something impending, but don't you want to know rather than find out and have emergency costs? That's the whole.
You're only doing the plant. You're not doing the pump stations. You're not doing our connection to Hull that has backfired at one time because of pressure and stuff. You're giving us 25%.
So don't you start somewhere though? Don't you start somewhere?
So Rob, what is your take?
If I may interject, this is like the missing piece of the puzzle to everything. So the resiliency is taking care of the electrical stuff. It's going to take care of the marsh, the line, and the manholes. We've already cameraed the entire collection system. A comprehensive facility evaluation is a must need. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're at the trigger now where we're at the threshold of meeting capacity, and it's going to be mandated anyway. And then we talk about using the document just to know what's broke. It's not just what's broke. It's also all the support and information to get the funding to move forward. It sets up the capital plan. It sets up the funding. It coexists with the resiliency and all the collection system work that's going on.
But
Yeah,
only the plant.
We've gone pretty close to the 80%, which is basically the trigger point for the facility planning effort. I mean, it may be a lot of money, but I mean, if the plan is being examined each piece of equipment, you know, its condition, its operation. And that's one thing I read the grant application that you had. I think one big thing for the equipment is to look at the operational parameters, you know, because that's an important feature. I mean, is how they're running the existing equipment to comply with the permit now, and if there's any flexibility in those operational parameters. And I didn't see that aspect of the assessment in there. You know, are you going to be looking at, you know, what the range of parameters are and what they're currently running at and define that? Because I think that's an important feature.
That's a question.
Pete, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Dan, I think it's a good point. I'm trying to understand exactly exactly what you would like to see.
You know,
Like an example.
Recycle rates, wasting rates, you know, back pulse sequence, you know, concentrations of different chemicals used. I mean, there's a whole list of parameters that define the operation of a piece of equipment. Just looking at the equipment and saying if it's working or not working is, you know, is one thing, but you know, you might be running a piece of equipment and you might be able to operate it a little bit differently to get more performance out of it in the long run. And that's really what I think is important to define as well, is not only, you know, how the equipment is and what's the condition and what its design parameters, but also how is it currently being operated and you know, over what ranges could it be operated?
Well, isn't that what we pay Wood and Kern to do on an annual basis? Not just run the plant, but also assess the livelihood of the
That's
facility.
certainly the case. I'm just looking to, you know, this is going to be a comprehensive document. And those are important parameters to define if you're really trying to evaluate a process and how well it can perform in the future. So it would be good to have those defined in the report. And I'm not sure if that was being done. I didn't really see that in the write-up.
Yeah, so we get reports from Woodard, and then part of their reports are the preventive maintenance side of the house, right? So what's the longevity of, you know, the 14 pumping stations? What's the longevity of the systems we have? I mean, they don't just call us when the grinder pump breaks, right? They let us know, like we knew that Veteran Station needed to be upgraded. We knew in advance that Deer Hill needed to be upgraded. So, you know, how much of it are we already getting from Woodard and Kern that would be in this particular grant, or is this?
I think we're getting bits and pieces in the monthlies, you know, but it'd be nice to have everything all in one spot. You're analyzing a piece of equipment, you're talking about its condition, its design parameters, but I think the operational parameters are also an important feature. And I just wanted to make sure that was part of it.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I agree it's not explicitly written into the grant, but it seems something that would be fairly easy enough to do, given that you know, Rob and his team are already at the plan and likely have most of that information anyways.
Yep. I believe early on in one of our coordination calls, this all came about where, forgive me, I forget her name, the asset management specialist, where she asked, who is it?
Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Where she was asking, will you be able to provide flows, design criteria, operational perimeters? That all came up early, where she sets up the beginning of that report, if I believe, and we need to verify that, but I'm almost certain it does. And as everyone's kind of mentioned, and this is the comprehensive part, it pulls everything together. It ties in the regionalization, the collection system, the operations, the capital plan, and pulls in everything for $90,000.
But you have more money available. That's 90,000 from Cohasset. You're going to use some of the grant money, right? So
correct.
Yeah, so it is a significant amount of money altogether. But I'm just I'd rather ask for as much as I could get. and, go to the town and say, listen, it's not $90,000, it's $190,000 or something, so that we had money to, do those emergency repairs or different things that we're gonna find, because
I think you will. You'll have that. You'll have that at the end of this. You'll have that plan that says these are the things that are recommended to improve. And you use that plan as a tool to put it onto your capital plan and to identify it for capital projects, right? So I think that's what you want to do. You want to start to look at those things as soon as possible so that they don't come up as emergencies and retroactive fixes that cost most likely more than you plan it, you budget for it, and you implement it. And that's the goal of DEP's program here for asset management planning.
Okay.
And I think you are maximizing the grant as much as you can, really. I mean, again, it's total project cost $250,000 max. You went to 225. If you did want to do another phase and look at pump stations and look at collection system even more, GIS system, you put an application in August and you're picking that right up a year from now, right?
But what are the chances of getting money in August?
Any asset management planning grant that's been put in has been approved. No one has ever been denied an asset management planning grant to date that we know of.
So with this, so Scott, let's take just a thing that I would assume would be done. Let's just take a look at this grant, and he's going to look at the facilities. Is this something we've had membrane failure, right? So is this grant going to be studying the uses of the membranes? Are they the best type of membranes we could be using? If we're sticking with these membranes for the next 20 years, would it tell us what the recommended rotation of the membranes would be? That type of stuff, or what level of detail is it going to tell us?
Yeah, we won't.
Go ahead.
The plan itself is designed, and obviously, we'll send you the grant. You can read through it. I'll read the 4 bullet points of what the real scope is of this grant.
Mm-hmm.
We can all be on the same page. So it's creating an equipment inventory, right? So we're going to inventory all of the equipment in the plant, right? Electrical, HVAC, like all of those different things. Then we're going to look at each piece of equipment, determine how much remaining useful life it has, determine what happens to that piece of equipment if it fails. For example, does it take down the whole plant, or is it just one process? And then, that turns into a risk assessment essentially for each piece of equipment in the plant. Then we'll also develop replacement costs for all of those pieces of equipment. And then the final piece of it is putting it all together into an asset management plan, which says, okay, in the short term, you should spend this money replacing this stuff, medium and long term, right? What we won't be doing is like complete alternatives assessment on the plan saying, we should change this process, or we should send everything to Hull, right? Like, we won't be getting into that scope. It's really, here's the existing plant, here's the equipment in it. These pieces of equipment are really critical to its process, and they're also in bad condition. Therefore, we should plan on replacing them.
So that's great. And Woodard should already be knowing what that is already without the grant. My concern is, we buy these membranes, we got a 10-year warranty, and you're going to tell me, hey, in 10 years, we're going to replace it. Well, we already know that. What I want to know is, what is the best preventive way to go about doing that? We're getting a new set of membranes in, so maybe, we're just kind of off the cuff saying, well, maybe we should just rotate these out every 5 to 7 years, one half. So every 5 to 7 years, we always have a good half and replacing out a bad half, you know what I mean? So we're guessing. If you're telling me this plan can help us assess that rather than guessing, I would feel more comfortable.
That's exactly what it would do, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, because we don't, we don't want to go by what the warranty says and then you know, we
Correct.
already know that these things fail before the warranty.
Yeah,
just-
it's real-time information. It's compiled to
Yeah.
make decisions.
Again,
You know,
getting
we
back
talked
to the
about
operation-
HVAC.
sorry.
What's
Getting back to
the deadline
operation-
for what's the deadline for the grant?
I'll
So
defer
the final IUP just came out. Really,
to Ted.
you would want to put this on your annual town meeting warrant article for funding. So you have to have a warrant article, or there's one other way that if you had a financial commitment appropriation letter from your town treasurer.
So
that said-
Brian, what's the deadline for getting articles on the warrant?
So articles they're formalizing the warrant now in the next few weeks. So that's why I was hoping to, get this
Okay.
discussion and get your feelings. So it should be a warrant article for the entirety of the grant amount, even though it's only a 90K portion for the town. You would need to appropriate the full 225, and then you get reimbursed the 135 from the state.
Okay.
Water revolving fund.
Dan, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah.
Well, like,
I was just saying, Paul, you're talking about the membranes. I mean, in analyzing the membranes, there's a lot of things that can affect those, the concentration of chemicals you use to clean them with, how often you're doing the cleaning, TMPs, some of those other things. And that's why I wanted to get back to the operational parameters. I think it's important to define those as part of the study. I didn't really hear a yes or no one way or the other if that was included. I mean, it doesn't take that much more. I mean, obviously, Rob and Scott know all the current settings, and you're going to be looking at the design settings anyways. So it'd just be nice to have those all in one spot, because I think with the operational information, you can get a better assessment on the life of the membranes. How to operate them to extend their life, or how to operate them to do the best cleaning. They're not always the same thing, and the other thing too, I wanted to mention was the spare parts. Are you gonna be looking at spare parts as part of the plan? I didn't see that in there.
I muted so we wouldn't keep going at the same time. Sorry about that. Yeah, critical spares is part of it.
Okay.
For example, the 3 permeate pumps, they're very, very.
So you think the operational parameters is gonna be part of it, or something we can include?
I think a portion is definitely going to be part of it. I don't know it's to the detail that you suggest, because the call was like forever ago. But we'll revisit the call.
Yeah, and I guess I'll add this too, is that the application was written in August with a scope, right? Now it's months later. As we go to contract, as the town would go to contract with DEP for the grant, and Woodard & Curran would go to contract with the town, that scope will be formalized, right? So we can clean up these little pieces and loose ends to make sure that it's more definitive for you all as well. So
yeah.
So why are we now just talking about it then, if it was written back in August? Or why haven't had these discussions on this grant, on the scope and the detail level?
It's to move forward with it.
Yeah, no, it's been
up.
communicated. There's been emails amongst the commission and on the different proposals
Okay.
as it's going. And I just re-forwarded you the email with the scope.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to move forward with it, and have it in town meeting, and have the money available.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? We'll take a roll call vote on the motion.
Wayne Sawchuk, aye.
Paul Kearsey, aye.
So I just want to agree. So I do agree with Dan. I think it'd be helpful to have, where we have parameters, operational parameters, as opposed to what's real out there. Say if a pump can do, whatever, 20 to 50 feet ahead, and it's doing, 15, so I think it'd be helpful to have that kind of separate component on what the actuals are versus what the spec is. Anyway.
Right, but we can't do anything till we get the money.
Yeah, I was just saying, to Dan's point, when we do
Yeah.
clean up the the scope, or get it down to the nitty gritty, I think that would be.
Okay, we'll note that and
Okay.
define it better.
And then you're saying there's another grant round come August?
Every year, yeah, every year this program is being, provided and available. So same thing, it follows the same SRF loan program timeline. So if you're putting in an application for construction funding and a low interest loan, this is within the same IUP. So it follows the same timeline. So yeah, we would put an application in August. And if you did want to do that, we'd probably start talking about scoping in, May or so, and start to think about what you'd want to do. And then in June, you'd start to really refine it. July, you finish it. And in August, you really just have to submit it. There's not much time in August to work on it.
Yeah, so we could put a application in to study the 14 lines that we have, for instance, coming into the plan.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
The
Yeah, 'cause
other aspect- sorry, the other aspect too, I think Rob had gotten some people to look at the veteran station not too long ago. And certainly it's within, their staff or operations capability to look at the individual pump stations and actually to maybe just do a little study on each one. I think that, you don't necessarily need a grant to do that. They're at the stations all the time. It's just kind of making a summary report. So to address Wayne's question about the remote pumping stations, I think that's within the, the general scope of the operations group, and, with a little extra time or effort, or, price quote or something. I'm sure they could get that done for the other remote pump stations.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a part of the ongoing preventive maintenance. So that's part of Wood and Kern's contract. I think if we're looking at a comprehensive plan, to Wayne's point, is, it's a full system that we have to look at. So if this year we're looking at just the heart of the system, then, this next grant should be on the rest of it. Because I'd like to know, where all our flow is coming from. Is it concentrated in certain areas? Is it evenly divided? Did Cook and CJC all of a sudden cause more issues than we anticipated? I don't know the answers to any of those. I suspect they don't, but Wood and Kern would know, how many days have we hit, gone over capacity this year versus last year? Is there any correlation between adding, those 14, that whole property at CJC and Cook Estates? Has that affected us, or is it just storm related to the high flow rates?
Yeah, I think it's tied to some degree to the flow meters that you have in the system now, and maybe Brian can talk to Wood and Curran about analyzing that data and coming up with some of those responses that you're looking for.
Yeah, because we're going to add one Pleasant Street, right? And that's going to be 14 condos. And that was just, 2 toilets, a men's room and a ladies' room in there for 50 years, right? And then the harbor project, with the hotel being there, I'm convinced they didn't generate as much as they were given in EDUs. But now, when that thing gets occupied, it's going to generate more. So, we have to understand where we are before we start adding more stuff, I think.
Now, is Parker Avenue, was there something in one of the recent storms that has to be upgraded in some fashion?
No, I think the incident you're referring to is the marina out there was doing some excavation work, and they broke the gravity pipe that goes to the pump station, and the tide came in, flooded the parking lot, and inundated the station.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think that the station's working fine. It was just, it was getting more water than what.
Okay. And there was I think a situation where the hotel is there, where they either raised the generator up, but they didn't raise up the components. Is that right? What do you?
So are you talking about the tide gate?
Yes.
So the tide gate we put a new standby backup generator, and that's elevated above the floodplain. And the cabinet is also, the components inside the cabinet are elevated.
Oh, they were, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's up to like the 2030, 2050 projections that Woods Hole Group just recently came out with, but it's elevated above the existing floodplain.
Okay. And I know that's sort of not, it's absolutely sewer related if it affects our plant, but it isn't something you'd normally study because it's outside the plant area. You know, it's a separate.
Yeah, so just a general thing on the CZM grants. There are 2 CZM grants that are currently being worked on. One of them is the group here that's working on specifically just elevating the electrical components at the plant. The second group is Woods Hole and Weston and Sampson are working on flood pathways, stormwater pathways into Jacobs Meadow. And they're doing a concept, well, they've done borings and they're going to do a concept design, which is probably going to be elevating the roadways at Border Street and Summer Street by, you know, a foot or two to, you know, keep the inundation from coming into where the plant is in Jacobs Meadow. Obviously, we're not pulling the trigger right away. It's basically just a concept design for, you know, if and when in the future, you know, we have something to go for more grant money with 5-10 years down the road.
Okay. All right, so.
And quickly going back to the pump stations, everyone, when we first came into town, we did an informal assessment of them all. And as Dan suggested, we can certainly do it again. It's not a big lift. We bring in the senior O&M specialist. It's done through the project under support services. And I think it took Jody 3 days, maybe. I could be wrong. It's 5-6 years ago, but we can certainly do the same thing again, which ties right into, you know, Dan's inspection reports and suggestions.
Yeah, so I mean, something occurred to where you stated we had to upgrade 2 pumping stations, and that was $80,000, right? It was $40,000 each. So that's just on 2 out of the 14 we own. I haven't heard any updates on any of the other ones. So probably should take.
It's a great idea. It's due, and we'll get it scheduled and conducted.
Awesome.
I'll work with Jody. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. So does anybody have anything else? Any other subject matters? Anything else, guys? Thanks for answering our questions.
You're very welcome.
A little peppered and but
it's okay. We're used to it.
Yes, exactly. So we're just trying to, you know, make sure that the value of the dollar is there for us. What we really need to know, because there's a lot of grants out there of, you know, need to know things, you know.
Right.
We're kind of in the category of we really need to know what's happening with our plant. As you said, it's 1978, 1979. So having plans is always good. But to Wayne's point, we can get a lot of grants and do a lot of studies, but if we do nothing with the information, it's on us. So I look forward to seeing what that information is.
Agreed.
So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, folks. Have a great Easter. We'll see you on the 10th.
You too.
Thanks now.
Well, thanks for everything, everyone.
Hey, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Brian, too.